Katie.
All right, good morning. So this is life. A little bit about myself. I was a former high school teacher. So you learn to go with the flow and figure out all the things. And my whole life has been spent with youth. So my first degree was in recreation sports management. I spent a decade doing outdoor ed in Ohio. So that's where I was born and raised. And then gained a bonus daughter. That life was kind of crazy for the hours. Loved the youth. So went and got my special ed license and taught for a decade. Loved that, coached track and volleyball, kind of all the things. And then got to a place where schools, there's just some things need fixed. Wasn't loving it, wasn't in a good place. My bonus daughter was in college at the time, so I had a little more flexibility. And a former colleague I'd worked with a long time ago said, "Hey, I've got this position at a camp center in Virginia. Would you like to come check it out?" And I was like, "No, not like leaving Ohio and moving to Virginia. What are you talking about?" But alas, God had different plans. Here I am in Virginia. So I moved down in the middle of COVID. That was great. Let me tell you, moving to a new state in the middle of a pandemic. But I survived and built some resilience along the way and moved from the program director to the center director just last summer. So I'm new in that role and kind of figuring out life there, but just love the service aspect. That's what really drew me to Rotary through some of the connections. I know Kristen through the gym, and I know Michael through 4-H and all the things, and Jen Avery. I don't remember. Everyone knows Jen. Like, I don't remember how I met Jen. But just really finding that, how can we help others? How can we use my time, my talents, the things I have done to give back to the community, and selfishly build a little bit of networking. Being new, not knowing the people, the things, how the town works. I think that was my biggest surprise moving to a new state, is all the things you don't know. So I have been learning all of that along the way, and currently just excited how we can partner with 4-H and how I can partner with Rotary to continue, the mission and the passion. How can we serve this community? How can we serve others and use our time and talents to do that? On the side, I love to do all the adventurous things. So if any of you don't know, I do like Highland games and ninja and anything that's out there that sounds a little fun and adventurous along the way. So if you're up for adventure, let me know. I can help you out with that. So thank you.
For you out there in Zoom land who didn't understand that, she had just barely walked in the door. She didn't even hardly get set down. Thank you very much, Katie, for that. Normally we would do Happy Dollars right now, but we have a presentation that we kind of need to take care of. So CN, if you would come forward.
So I'm bringing lots of company with me this morning. Come on up here where everybody can see you, like right here, just so to make you extra conspicuous. So for many years now, we've been in a collaboration with HN Funkhauser, who generously match our donations to a program called Fuel for Families to benefit Warren County families who run out of money for fuel. And Michelle Smeltzer is up here with us too. I'd like to introduce Brooke Raleigh, who's been our point of contact for many years, Raymond Clater, who is the management making this possible and a member of our own Clark County Rotary. And coming into the fold, we have Nicole Moore, who's going to be taking over the program from Brooke. And Brooke, I can't thank you enough. And Michelle is the linchpin for this for us, because she identifies families with needs and makes sure that all of the public funds are exhausted first. And to give you an idea of the impact of this, just from September of 22 to March of 23, we have provided more than $6,400 in assistance to 14 families. We've used up the money that we've collected in previous years. We're down to less than $500 now. And this year, generously, you all have donated $1,863, which will meet with matching funds and be able to help more families in the next cold season. So many thanks. And thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm not even here. Okay.
Since you stepped in a while back and did a program, Barbara thought you needed to have a book in your honor. So this book will go to the Phoenix Project.
Oh my
with your
gosh, that's
life
so
blog.
near to my heart.
Thank you very much for stepping up for that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now we'll do Happy Dollars. If I can find the jug again. Minute. Sorry.
Well, I got 10 happy dollars because the Ride with Rotary event went off so well. We had over 100 riders and everybody came out and had a great time, and the weather cooperated this year. We didn't get all 4 seasons in one day. So we're excited about that. Thank you.
And I have 10 happy dollars, thanking everybody who worked on Ride with Rotary. It turned out to be a fantastic event. I sent out a survey to riders, and all the feedback I've gotten so far has been extremely positive. Everybody says they will be back next year. So good news. Thank you, Club. $10.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to echo the folks who have come before me. I have 15 happy dollars for a very, very successful Ride with Rotary, and thanks to everybody who was involved. The other $5 of my total 20 is for Katie's wonderful outdoor voice. Thank you for your help.
Okay, so I've got 20 happy dollars. I'm always happy when my early act kids show up to Rotary meetings. I'm even more happy when they show up for school. But I'm really glad they're here. You know who you are if you were involved in the Ride for Rotary part. All I did was drive a vehicle and pick up some guy who probably shouldn't have been riding in it. Who got all cramped up. But you know, it's always fun watching people do things that you could never do. One, which is ride that far, and two, which is organize something like that. So I can only be thankful for the people that do that. And Gail, you are such a blessing to this club. And everybody in this club is a blessing, but I have a Gail Hartman file in my email, and now I have a Gail Hartman Ride with Rotary file in my email, because just to educate myself on all the things that it takes to do something like that. And it really is impressive. Also, we had the joy of giving Katie, Ellen, Krista, and I had the joy Monday night of giving out 3 $1,000 scholarships to 3 deserving Skyline High School students. And that was followed up with some conversation with Ellen and I on a I don't know what the word is, but on an effort next year to hopefully increase how many scholarships and how much money we give our kids, and possibly even adding a fundraiser to gear towards that so that we can do that. So it's really cool seeing the kids from Skyline and their parents there for that. And anyway, so and people now know that I own a suit. So great.
I have 20 happy dollars. I have 20 happy dollars for my dad's birthday today and hope he has a great birthday.
Tough one to follow. So I did it on Give Lively this morning. I have 20 happy dollars. My first group of new teachers are just about finished. They've survived the year and they're all generally happy. So that's really exciting. Just in time for our next group to start in August. And right now our numbers in Warren County are relatively low. So that's super exciting.
That is huge. I'm happy to be visiting the Warren County Rotary Club.
And I am happy to be here to represent HN Funkhauser and do the Feel for Families. This is just a wonderful program and we love being in collaboration with that.
Okay, anybody in Zoom land? Did I see Guna's hand? Oh, June. And Guna, is that all?
Me too.
Yeah. June, are you muted? Can't hear you, June.
You're muted, June.
Okay, well, Guna, do you want to go ahead while we work on June?
Yes, I have 20 happy dollars. This is for people from this club who volunteered for Ride with Rotary, as well as people who are not in this club and they contributed their time volunteering for this event. And I just want to thank everyone for that. Thank you.
Okay, June, you want to try it again?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yes, I want to give 20 happy dollars for the Ride for Rotary. And specifically, I think it was it Gail that came up with this idea and Guna that were the brainchilds for this. I can't recall. I remember those two. But anyway, it was a fantastic event, and thank everybody there who worked so hard. We wish we could have been there to work with you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Peggy.
Debbie?
Yes, I have 20 happy dollars. Last night was senior soccer night. So I put on almost all the clothes that I had, thankful for warm clothes and boots, and saw our grandson be honored last night as a senior soccer player. And then the rest of it is for the vision that Guna and Gail had for the fundraiser past Saturday and all the wonderful volunteers. It was a good day.
Okay, is that everyone? Okay, I did on announcements. I believe Michael has called a Ride with Rotary and fundraising meeting on the 18th. Do a little recap, I understand, at 5:30 p.m. at the Okay. Anyway, at the Front Royal Police Department. On May 24th, we won't have a morning meeting. That will be our social. It's at On Cue, I assume still 6 to 8 p.m. Okay. On May 30th, we will be responsible for dinner together, and Krista is in charge of that. And then the board meeting will be May 30th, immediately following the dinner together here at the church. Okay. June's back. What? She did, didn't she?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. Okay, any other announcements? Yes. Huh? Well. Ellen has an announcement.
I would just like to invite all of you all on this Friday to head downtown. If you haven't seen anything about it on Facebook, Downtown Front Royal is hosting our first event called Nacho Average Event. We're celebrating Cinco de Mayo. Over 30 of our merchants on Main Street are participating in some form or fashion. We're going to break a piñata or two or three at the gazebo. We've got live music going on. There's going to be photo booth opportunities up and down the street. And as of late last night, I'm very excited. There is a troupe of women that participate in some kind of Latin dancing that reached out to me and asked if they could come and participate. So they will be down at the gazebo also. Our local Jig and Jive had a recital that night, so they couldn't do that for us. So it's nice that these folks have stepped in. But at the end of the night, we're going to give away $100. So with a map, if you've been into at least 8 of our merchants on Main Street and get a little initial, then around 7 o'clock, we're going to draw a winner out of that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's gotten a lot of lift on Facebook, and I hope some of you all can come join us. It starts at 3 o'clock. We kind of thought on Cinco de Mayo, there might be some people that wanted a margarita a little bit early in the afternoon. So we'll be down there at 3 and it goes until dusk.
I have one as well. I sent out a P-mail, I think it was yesterday, for Ride with Rotary as far as the engagement piece. So if all of you, pretty much everybody's participated in some way or another, if you could go into engagement and just update your hours and any money that's been spent or mileage on your vehicles, for those of you riding in the chase vehicles, you can go ahead and put that in under the engagement tab. I know some folks struggle with engagement. I am one of them at times. But if you having trouble, just shoot me an email with your information. I'll stick it in there for you. Thanks.
Thank you, Kel. And he's been very helpful. And he's fixing to get to work with me quite a bit. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, now I'm sorry George is not here to introduce our speaker, but Randy, if you would like to come up and if you could, I think everybody here knows you pretty well. But if you want to give a little brief bio, that would be great. Mhm.
Well, I do see a lot of familiar faces this morning, and that's really good. I appreciate that. Some new ones also. So hopefully I get to know you and you get to know me a little better. My wife and I have been here since 1990. I work at the store formerly known as Southern States. Wasn't there some artist, right? Formerly known as, I don't know what it was, something like that. I'm way too old for that. But we are called EverGro now. I'm going to give you like a 1-minute history on that so you'll know what happened. Southern States as a company began degrading back in around the year 2000 when they sold a company I worked for that they owned called Wetzel Seed. They also sold about 7 retail locations that were all making money. They were in financial crisis. Move forward to about 5 years ago, they sold the feed division, which was the goose laying the golden egg. A few years after that, they sold the agronomic and energy division to Growmark out in the Midwest, to a huge agricultural cooperative out there. And then they sold the farm supply division to a company called Agway, which was kind of a stolen name. Anyway, so all you had left with Southern States was what we call backroom work. They did our human resources. They did all that kind of stuff, insurances. That's all that was left. We actually merged March a year ago with Orange Madison Co-op. They had already left Southern States a year before that, and we're getting all those things done in the back room, what we call the back room stuff, less expensive than doing it through Southern States. So 1 year ago, we merged with them in March, and last September, knowing that the names Orange Madison Cooperative did not fit real well because we're from Louisa, Virginia to Upperville, Virginia, the name of the company was changed to EverGro because also we have other cooperatives looking at joining us. So that is the 1-minute dissertation on why I work for this company right here, right now, EverGro Cooperative. So I think, are we about ready to go, Rob?
So George asked me to talk a little bit about lawn care and also a little bit about vegetable gardening. I told George it's way too late for this, but he said, well, that's all right. So we're going to do it. Why is it too late? Well, there's certain things that you should have done about 6 weeks ago that it's going to be too late. But there are many other things you can continue to do to help. So we're going to talk about how to have a beautiful lawn. Lawn basics. First thing I want to mention that pH is so important. Everybody talks about fertilizing their lawn. By the way, this is normally about a 50-minute presentation, so I'm going to be going at warp speed. For me anyway, as a Southerner, it's hard to go at warp speed. But pH is very important. People always talk about fertilizing their lawn, fertilizing their lawn, fertilizing their lawn. Well, if you take your 2 fingers and put them on each corners of your mouth like that, right there, if your pH is wrong, that's kind of what you're making your lawn, how you're making your lawn eat. If your pH is incorrect, it's basically locking nutrients into the soil and your lawn is unable to get those nutrients. I didn't say it didn't do any good. I'm saying you're wasting part of your money. You might as well put it in the toilet and flush. So pH is extremely, extremely important. So you'll probably hear me say a couple times during this, get your pH checked. And yes, we do sell pH kits at the store. Don't buy one. Okay. They're there for people who've got to have them. Don't buy one. Get a soil sample. Go 6 to 8 places in your lawn. Take like a trowel that you plant plants with. Go straight down. Come 1.5 inches away. Go straight down. Try to get that sliver of soil. Don't want the grass. Don't want the roots. Just the soil. Bring it into the store. We can send it off. $25. You only need to do it about every 3 or 4 years. That's how you find out what's going on in your soil. Doesn't just tell you pH, it tells your other nutrients and what your needs are. Very, very important. pH is key. This chart here, if you look at this chart, and I'm going to find out where this little button is, right? Where's the little, is this the pointer button? There we go. So if you look at 6.5, that line right there of 6.5, the thicker the stripe, the better it is. So you see at 6.5, most of them are pretty thick. When you start going the other way, for phosphorus is a great example, you get down to 6 and look how thin phosphorus is. Phosphorus is root growth. Nitrogen's vertical growth, phosphorus is root growth, and the other macronutrient, potassium, is a little bit of everything. Okay. So if you're at 6.5, you're in pretty good shape for nutrient uptake. When you vary from that, you've got a problem. You're going to have a problem either with your micronutrients getting less, or these are macronutrients up here. So 6.5 is your key number to try to get. Okay. Lime raises your pH. Sulfur, if you've got a high pH, sulfur lowers your pH. pH, as I said, should be about 6.5. 140 to 50 pound bag of pelleted lime will raise your pH 1 full point. Now, some math people will correct my word here, but a 5.0 versus a 6.0, 5.0 is 10 times worse than 6. A 4 to a 5 is 100 times worse than a 6. So it multiplies as you go down, it gets worse and worse. So if you get down to like a 5, you've got a low pH. And it can even inhibit weed killing. When your pH gets so low, you're trying to do a weed and feed thing, it can inhibit weed killing when your pH is that low. Okay, if you have vegans or vegetarians in here, pretend you're not. All right. So this is a lovely looking steak. I mean, I would like that. How many like the steak like that? Okay, we got a few. So would you rather eat that steak with one of those little bitty shrimp forks? Or would you rather have a nice, beautiful silver regular old fork? I'm going to take the big fork because I'm going to eat it. I'm going to drive right into it. Well, I gave that mouth thing earlier. So if you've got a low or a high pH, you're eating that steak with that shrimp fork. Now, look, if you're trying to lose weight, I understand that, but your lawn is not trying to lose weight. All right. So that's why why your pH is so important. Fertilizing can be done a little bit with the shotgun approach. Lime, you're trying to hit a target. You are trying to hit bullseye, 6.5 for lawns and for gardens, actually. So fertilizer can be done a little bit, I said, as a shotgun approach, because it's food. It's just like this morning, George bought my breakfast for me. It was food and I ate it all. It's food. So it certainly there are some situations that it's going to be a little bit different, but it's food. By the way, in many states, Maryland is one now, phosphorus can only be applied to a lawn if you've had a soil sample done. And phosphorus, by the way, is one that I always look at when I get a soil test back, because phosphorus is root growth. And many, many times when a soil test comes back in this area, it's low in phosphorus. Not always, but many times. And it's a critical, critical nutrient. If you got a bad foundation in the house, you haven't got a very good house. It's going to fall down. You got a bad root system in grass, lawns, guess what? It's not going to do well. You need good roots. Seeding, crabgrass, and weeds. What is the best time to seed? Anybody want to venture? What's the best time of the seed? Don't you say a thing. I've dealt with that, gentleman. What's the best time to seed? Fall. How many people do it in the spring versus the fall? Almost everybody. It's turning green. It's time to seed. No, it's not. It's time to do other stuff. Why do we overseed? Well, overseeding, we have basically in this area, we have turf type fescues. And I'm going to give you some details on different types of seeding because there are many different times. Every 3 to 4 years, check your pH. I said it again. Aerate annually. Types of seeding. There's simple broadcast seeding. Well, here's a stupid saying that you'll probably think, boy, Clark is out of his mind. Broadcast seeding is for lawns that don't need seeding. Broadcast seeding is for lawns that don't need seeding. Why do I say that? Lawns are a living organism. They're going to die. Some of it's going to die over years. Broadcast seeding is so you don't get a thin lawn. If you think broadcast, and I'm not going to say you're going to fail always when you do broadcast seeding on a bare spot or a bare lawn, a new lawn. I'm not going to say you're always going to fail, but I'm going to say your probability of success is much less than other forms of seeding. Broadcast seed, we have this area here is what we call the transition area. We're in between the southern grasses and the northern grasses, which is a pain in the rear, by the way, to be here. Turf type fescues are our best types of seed in this area. I did not say Kentucky 31 fescue. I said turf type fescues. K31 has one redeeming value. It's cheap. That's the only redeeming value for K31. It's cheap. Turf type fescues are improved in color, in finer blades, and also disease and drought resistance. So they are much better. So simple broadcast seeding is fine if you're just trying to keep your lawn nice. Slit seeding. If you have a lawn that's got a lot of spots, lots of areas that are blank, slit seeding is the way to go. If you don't know what a slit seeder is, it's very simple. It's a machine that in the front has little blades. Those blades turn and make a slit in the soil. On the backside of that machine are tubes that's dropping seed in the slits. You see, seed has to make soil contact in order for it to grow. I remember visiting a gentleman's lawn on the north side of town, and he had these tall trees in the backside of his lawn, and he had a bank like this, and that's facing south. Where's the sun coming from? And he wanted me to tell him how he could get grass growing there. I said, put hardscaping in. It was basically zero sun on that lawn. And so that was not going to work. He had moss on there, sun and shade. I'll probably mention that later, but sun and moisture are the favorite things of moss. And he had seed laying on the moss. Okay. Seed must make soil contact. So slit seeding ensures that. And if you have a lawn that's got lots of bare areas, I'm just telling you, I mean, lots, don't just try to throw grass out there and think some magic's going to happen. You're going to find that you're going to do it over and over and over again. Get a slit seeder or a power machine, run through your lawn and do that way. And by the way, when you do slit seeding, you just don't go in one row like that, because if you do, you can look like you just planted corn. So you do it like this, and then you do it at a 45-degree angle. That's how you do slit seeding. Spot seeding is pretty simple, a little bit like broadcast, except you're going to do some additional work. Got little spots, maybe a few spots, rough that soil up. See, and by the way, you'd be amazing how little seed you have to put down, because 8 pounds of grass seed will cover, 8 pounds of grass seed will almost cover this room. Okay. So grass seed, and that's totally bare. Not quite cover this room, but probably 12 pounds would cover this room easily. But spot seeding, you rough your soil up, you plant your seed, put your seed down, and then put a top dressing over it. We sell a product named EverGro. Any compost material is real good. Not topsoil in a bag. Topsoil in the bags manufactured from either mushroom compost or bark vines. not a great top dressing. So I always recommend a composted material like EverGro or some other compost. What seed to use? I alluded to this a little bit earlier, turf type fescues. We carry, and I'm not just blowing up EverGro, but I work with the seed suppliers when we started using them. We do custom seed blends down our way. So I'll just say it. Nobody around has any better seed blends than us now. By the way, I was sharing with some of y'all privately. I really don't have much to do with the store down here anymore. I actually work there, but I'm the logistics manager for the company. So I'm just stationed there. But a few people still know I know a little bit about lawns, enough to be dangerous, as I like to say. So I usually am out helping people when I can. But we have a fantastic company that provides our seed. They're blends, which you always want to use blends. There it is. Why do you do that? Well, probably some of you have mutual funds. Why do you have a mutual fund? Y'all know George probably have a mutual fund. If one part of the mutual fund goes south, the other parts maybe don't go south. Same with fescues. One part may not have as much drought resistance as another. One may not have as much resistance to disease as others. So it's like a mutual fund. So these are the three we have. And the one error on my slide is that they have changed the colors of the bags, but we have a premium fescue, a sun and shade blend, and a shade blend. By the way, you cannot grow grass in zero shade. In zero sun. Okay. Something's buzzing me and I got stuff going on at work. I just need to check. Part of being logistics. So I got a guy doing deliveries. He wants to know what's going on. You've got to have a minimum of 4 hours of sun, no leaves, no branches, no nothing. You've got to have at least 4 hours of sun. Okay. Very, very important. I have people all the time. Well, I've got this tree there. I said, well, then put hardscaping in or mulch, because you got to have sun. We have the best shade blend anywhere because it has hard fescue and chewing fescue in it, which are the most shade tolerant fescues there are. It has other stuff in it too. They are the most tolerant there are. They've still got to have 4 hours of sun, direct sun. That's the product I mentioned to you earlier, EverGro, if you want to use it for a top dressing. Crabgrass. This is the part we're too late on, but I'm going to cruise through it. This should have been started 6 weeks ago, approximately 6 weeks ago. You cannot seed and do crabgrass control because it's a seed, and crabgrass control works on seed. You see by the way, Michael, anytime you want, you can give those papers out. Oh, well, that's great. I didn't know that. I didn't even see you do that. Man, you were a flash on that, weren't you? I didn't know he was a flash, but he's lost weight, so he is a flash now. Crabgrass control, it's an annual. And one crabgrass plant, believe it or not, makes 200,000 seed, one plant, if it goes to total maturity. So if you're letting crabgrass go to maturity and then you see more crabgrass next year, guess what? It had a lot of babies. So crabgrass control is done before it ever starts to germinate. My suggestion is around March 15th up to April 1st. And it'll probably say that here again. So I said treat now because I normally do this. Man, they're popping up. Because they normally do this. I normally do this beforehand, but you would treat mid-March up to April 1st in order to take care of your crabgrass. We have lots of different products for crabgrass. I actually recommend 2 different products for crabgrass, an early and then 5 to 6 weeks later, a different product. Again, for next year, if you want to come see me, I'll be glad to help you. We're at a point now where you're going to have to kill crabgrass, and we can take care of that too. But if you wait till late May and June to try to kill crabgrass, good luck. It is very, very difficult to kill. So if you know you've got crabgrass, grows like a wagon wheel, spokes flat to the ground, now you can kill it. Up for the next few weeks, it'll probably be pretty easy. Month from now, month and a half from now, good luck. Second application, 5 to 6 weeks. And this is a product, this is the one I think it is. Yeah, this is a great product for your second app because this gives you weed control, crabgrass, and fertilizer all at the same time. And it's on the sheet you've got, by the way. Don't forget, this is hard in these lights here. If you use pre-emergent crabgrass controls, you will wait till late summer, and I mean late summer, I mean into August or fall to plant your seed. Do not plant your seed before. Weeds, weeds, weeds. All right, there's cool season and warm season weeds. That's one of the situations. You've got things like chickweed is a cool season weed. You'll see them real early. There's a lot of them you see. Henbit, bittercress, those are cool season weeds. See, I'm not a Scots fan, and I'm sorry if anybody else in here is a retailer and sells Scots. We sell some Scots. I don't like Scots because they got this step program. They got one step for weeds. Okay, so I put that down. I don't know when they even say it. Let's say I put that down in April. Okay, I'll put it down in April. Well, my warm season weeds aren't even growing yet. What do I do about my warm season weeds that come up a month later? Oh, nothing. Oh, so that's why I don't like Scots. There's warm season, cool season weeds, so you've got to do more than one application. Your cool season weeds, which I just went the wrong way. Cool season weeds up here, you're going to try to take care of them in now, right now, or even a little bit before actually. But then you've got warm season, spurge plant, and oxalis, and wild violet. Wild violet comes in a little bit earlier. The others, you're looking at way up into May, well up into May, and even into June, July. So you've got to do more than one application. Once is not enough. By the way, on almost all weed control, if you're using a granular product, the leaves need to be wet, which means the dew, or after rain, not before rain, but the leaves need to be wet for the product to stick to the leaves. Lots and lots of product for weed control, lots of product. There are some tough weeds that are, wild violets are really toughy. I just don't think you're going to take care of it with a granular product. Ground ivy is pretty tough. My product that I would suggest on using for those is a product called Speed Zone. Safe product made by PBI Gordon. It does a great job. I've had to spray Speed Zone on a wild violet 3 times over a 6-week period to get rid of it. It is a tough, tough weed, and that's Speed Zone. So Randy, just tell me what to do. If you plan to seed in the spring, and by the way, some of these sheets you've got, one side's going to say seeding in spring, one side's going to say seeding in the fall. I really don't want you to seed in the spring, but if you do, you can apply only fertilizer. You're going to wait till about May 15th to apply weed control. The golden rule about that on weed control is you've got to wait till the new grass has had to be cut twice. Okay. So you got old grass, you got new grass, but the new grass has to have been needed to be cut twice before you can apply weed control. Why? Because it now has a sufficient root zone to be able to handle the weed control. Okay. Hope that makes sense. This is basically just a fertilizer product. By the way, if you notice these different bags and different colors, I'm not a big fan about everything's got to look the same. I'm a big fan of quality product. That's me. This is kind of a plain bag. This is a product called Screaming Green. It's a basic fertilizer, but it is a great fertilizer. A lot of slow release nitrogen. Some of y'all may be sitting there going, oh, I want all organic. Well, let me explain one thing about organic. A plant, and I'm going to speak about nitrogen. A plant can only take up nitrogen in the nitrate form of nitrogen. That's it. It's got to be in the nitrate form. So it doesn't matter if it comes from, I got some chickens now, so it doesn't matter if it comes from my chicken's manure, which is where a lot of Espoma products, their base is chicken manure, or if it comes from urea, or it comes from ammonium nitrate, or it comes from whatever, DAP. Until the plant can take it up, the microbes in the soil have to break that nitrogen down to the nitrate form of nitrogen. What's the big advantage, I believe, from organics? It can help the soil around here because we have crappy soil. Most places, not all, but most places. So the organics help the soil in that aspect. But as far as eating the food, so to speak, it's all got to break down in the case of nitrogen to nitrate form. That's a very, very simple bag. That's a lawn starter. We talked about phosphorus. If you need phosphorus, that would be the product that you would use. Weed control should be done, applied again somewhere around June 5th, up to June 15th to 20th, not above 90 degrees. Apply your weed control below 90 degrees. And you can always do your weed and feed as needed, but you can always do the spot spraying with the Speed Zone as needed. Spreaders are fine. That's pure weed control there with no fertilizer. After June, I really wouldn't be fertilizing. If you need weed control, you can do that or spot spray. If you're not seeding now, which is the best thing to do, apply pre-emergent crab, which is we're past that point. Use it with fertilizer if needed. Apply a second product 5 to 6 weeks later. Apply the second weed control in mid-June, no later, in my opinion, for warm season weeds. Spot spray from then on for the rest of the summer. Spot spray for your weeds, like with a Speed Zone type product. Overseed August what is it, the 20th? And I would probably nowadays I'd probably make it a little bit later. I'd probably make it the 25th up to October 1st. What I tell people, just remember Labor Day. Seed around Labor Day. It's a great time of year. See that in the fall, things are getting cooler. We're getting moisture. In the spring, when you seed now, another problem is things are getting hotter and we're wet now, but we're going to get drier. And that grass needs water. So if you can water it, spring's okay. Just watch out for your weeds. Grass needs water. Fertilize in mid to late September with 1/2. I think it's 3/4 because you do 1.5 total. 3/4 of a pound of N. October 15th, fertilize with weed and feed to get another 3/4 pound of N. And don't forget to check pH. Was that 3 or 4 times I've said that? Do I think that's important? Nah, don't worry about it. Special weeds. I hope you're not blessed with any of these. Wiregrass. If you have wiregrass, God bless you. Wait a minute, how'd they say down south? Bless your heart. I love that saying. If you know what that means, I'm not good. Wiregrass is a problem. If you have it, it can grow in your asphalt. Come see me. I'll talk to you how to do it. It's a pain in the rear. It really is. That's how it looks in the lawn. It usually grows flat and you start one end and pull up. I have literally pulled wiregrass up this high from the end of the baby plant to the mama, 4 feet long. And I said, pray. Yeah, pray. Now I can talk to you about how to take care of that. I don't want to take time now. Another one we see a lot of, and when I was young in the lawn care industry, from a distance, I couldn't tell these apart. Even up close, I couldn't. Is Nimblewell. Whole lot easier to take care of than wiregrass, because we have a great product that'll take care of it. These are both southern weed grasses, and they're aggressive, and they will start taking over your lawn. One thing about wiregrass, it's usually in an area and it spreads from that area. Nimblewell will be spots all over. It's normally not one giant area like wiregrass is. Japanese stilt grass is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. It usually comes in from the woods, but it gets to the point it just loves out in the lawn too. So that's another one we have a product for. It, by the way, you can treat it just like crabgrass with a pre-emergent because it comes back from seed. There's a fungus among us. Red thread is the most common, and we're getting into red thread season. Probably in the next 2 weeks, we'll be in red thread season. Red thread is normally not going to kill a lawn, just as ugly as sin. That's kind of what it looks like. Brown patch, on the other hand, if it's a severe case of brown patch, can kill a lawn. Not often, but it's possible. Organics. And again, crabgrass control, there are organics for it. But the problem with the organic that's used for crabgrass control is that it takes so much of it that the nitrogen can run off into the streams. So that's the only problem about crabgrass. Weed control, there are some things like vinegar and all are out that are getting more popular and do a decent job. You normally are going to have to do multiple applications. Moss causes, I mentioned this earlier, shade, moisture are the 2 primary causes of moss. pH does have an effect. So if you've got not much shade, not much moisture, but you got moss, it's probably a pH problem. You can ask me about that and I can help you. Mowing. Most people mow their lawns way too short. Lawns should be mowed, I say no less than 3 inches, 3.5 even. In the summer when it's hot, even 4 inches. And don't go by notches on a lawnmower numbers. They don't mean anything. Please cut your lawnmower off, put it on a flat surface and measure the blade. Do not do this when your lawnmower is running. There was a guy on TV the other night, he had his hands all bloody, and he had put his hands under his lawnmower. I'm like, oh, okay, where are you? I almost said, where are you from, West Virginia? But so I might offend some of y'all. So anyway, correct heights, like I say, 3 inches at a minimum. When it's hot and dry, a lot taller. Few notes. If it rains hard, seed washes away. Isn't that amazing? That's kind of like knowing the guy shouldn't put his hand under the lawnmower. So that's what we have, products that will help with that. We have soil erosion blankets and all, if you have hillsides, to help with that. Apply top dressing. I talked about leaf grow. That also, by the way, will very much increase your germination. It takes time to get a nice lawn. It's a living organism. Don't think I'm going to start this year. Next year, I'm going to have a golf course. Doesn't happen that way unless you want to pay to get sod put down. That's a whole different ballgame. Be patient, be persistent, and be sure to do spot weed control. I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to flip over that. I'm going to spend like 2 minutes on vegetable gardening. How many people grow vegetables? Okay. Does that sound familiar? pH testing. Guess what? It's the same thing. It's a plant. It's got to be the right pH to be able to think. Now, the difference, old timers use 5, 10, 10, and 10, 10, 10. That's, I mean, my dad used 10, 5, 10, 10. We had a big garden. Okay. We did. It was our winter food supply primarily. I'm going to tell you what, there's a lot better stuff than that. And there's one of them that's out, it's called 10, 10, 10 vegetable grower. What's the difference? 10, 10, 10. I may have this up here. Nope. 10, 10, 10 is meat and taters. It's meat and taters. Okay. That's all it is. But mama wanted me to eat my carrots and my broccoli and all that other stuff because they have different minerals and vitamins, right? Okay. 10, 10, 10 vegetable grower has your meat and taters, but it's also got your broccoli and your carrots and your corn and everything else. 7 micronutrients. Very important to understand that. Another thing I'll mention, I don't have it on the slide, for things like tomatoes and peppers, the individual type plants, I use a product called Osmocote myself, maybe a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons in the hole, and that feeds those things for 4 months. Great product. I've been using it. I used to grow 1,500 mums every year, and I used it in them too. Brambles, berries, they are totally different. They wanted don't take this for all plants. They like a low pH, kind of like azaleas and things like that. They like a low pH. So that's very different than the other. Planting blueberries. Also, when you do any blueberries, I love blueberries. I need to plant some. Dig a big trench, mix some peat moss in the soil. That's what you need to do. And I'm going to shut up because I know I've gone over. What questions can I answer before we have to run out of here? Yes. If I can't answer it, I'll just give it to Rob.
I thought you were asking dad. Yeah, and your dad has fucking habits, so go ask your friend. Yeah, about the fucking.
So I live in town and a front and a backyard and then kind of a hill and then our garden. Okay. The garden never works out. So would I have to do the pH for the front and then another one for the back? Or is that pretty much
Okay.
all the same?
Right. What I would do, my opinion, I would, if you say you've got a garden also.
Well, yeah, I guess you could call it
Is the
that.
garden just part of the back lawn?
Yeah, it's up. It's like there's a hill, a grass
Okay.
hill up.
So
to-
if it were me, I would do the lawn as one. I do even amounts from like 4 from the front, 4 from the back, samples, and then I would do 1 for the garden. But again, 4 to 6 from the garden. That's what I would do because
Okay.
that could be very different.
Okay.
Not that the needs are different, but because the way you described it could be very different.
Okay. And
That's-
then my next question is, we have a dog. It doesn't like the winter. So she goes out into this one area that's very close to the house to do her business in the winter time. So we have a really hard time keeping grass.
You have
there.
yellow grass. or
We don't
dead
have any
grass.
grass,
Yeah,
basically.
it's
no
interesting.
grass.
My where I went to school, Virginia Tech actually did a study on dogs peeing on lawns. I don't know what grant that was. But anyway, what's in there? It's such a high nitrogen content in that pee that it's killing the lawn. And they literally, in their report, they said the best thing to do when you know that you're letting your dog out at a certain time and that dog's going right out there and urinating in that spot, they said have a pitcher of water and flush it. That's exactly what they said to do.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise they're just tearing that lawn up with very, very high nitrogen.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when you're testing for pH, what are all the steps that you need to do? You said you needed to do.
I'm sorry.
When you're testing for the pH, okay, how do you take the sample and how many samples?
Okay, my preference is 6 to 8. Take like a trowel, like you plant plants with. Stick it as straight down in the ground as you can. Go 1.5 inches way or so. Make sure you don't grass and roots we don't want. Go straight down again. What you're trying to do is get a sliver of soil, about 1 inch or 1.5 inches thick. Get about 6 to 8 of those, throw them all in a Ziploc bag. Why? Because we're trying to do an average of the lawn. If you take one sample and the dog happened to have peed right there, we got a bad sample because it's going to throw that sample way out of whack. So 6 to 8 samples, we're trying to get it, and just randomly walk around your lawn or garden randomly and just bend over and get 6 or 8 samples like that. Yes.
2 questions. The speed zone that you mentioned for killing the ground ivy, will it also kill everything else around it?
It will only kill broadleaves. Okay. Broadleaf killers, whether it's speed zone or that, what is that stuff? Weed be gone. Yeah. Forgot. It wouldn't even hardly come out of my tongue. They're broadleaf weed killers, but they don't know a good plant from a bad plant. So if it's not grass, it's going to probably take it out. And by the way, another thing about using those products, if you're real close to a desirable plant, they can do what's called volatilization. So, and it's called an inversion in weather, and I'm not a weather person, but anyway. So don't ever spray that stuff on a real hot day, real warm day, because that weed killer can volatilize and literally move. So you're better off to do it on like 70, 75-degree days. And I would prefer to do it probably even late in, not when it's dewy, but if you do it like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, be great.
And it's the best stuff for poison ivy also?
No, poison ivy has a woody stem when it goes to where it goes into the ground. So there's a product called Crossbow that I would use for things like poison ivy. It's the same principle though. It's a broadleaf killer. So don't get it on desirable broadleaves because you'll be in trouble. Yep. Hope that answered your questions.
Mine's not a lawn question, but it's a bush that it's growing up and taking care of, killing all my grass. I think they're called autumn olives.
Autumn olive. What
do we do with
infamous
those?
plant. I think the Crossbow will probably do a decent job on that. Again, Crossbow has a product in it called triclopyr, and triclopyr is pretty hot product to take care of that type of thing. If you ask me when I'm at the store, I'll look at it another way, but I believe Crossbow. Well, but you may take multiple applications.
Crossbow like the arrow.
That's right.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
Right. All right.
Strawberry,
Oh,
Randy,
yes.
strawberries, do you treat those like the brambleberries or differently?
Okay, I knew there had to be a stump the question today. Stump that guy. I don't think so. I think strawberries are treated like a normal garden, but I will double check on that. Give me a call.
I have a quick question. Wild onions.
Speed zone.
Speed zone.
Wild onions are, I know this sounds stupid, but they're considered a broadleaf. That's kind of funny, isn't it? But if you think about that and you're going to use weed and feed and just a granular, how much of that granular is going to stick to a wild onion? Probably none. So speed zone will work great on wild onions. Yeah. And sometimes it does take multiple apps because there's so little leaf area there. That's the problem.
Last question for me. If you are getting rid of grass in a certain area because you want to clear it or plant something there before you plant it, is there a long-term impact on that soil or is it only the top? What's growing in
Say that
soil?
one more time. I want to hear all of it.
So if I want to clear, like, let's say this round table right here has grass, I want to kill it.
Yep.
All right. Can I plant something there once that grass is that way, or do I have to wait a certain length of time? Will it grow after I have sprayed?
So you're going to kill that and then plant.
Correct.
Okay. Use glyphosate to kill it. You can plant in 7 days.
Okay.
And by the way, if you've heard all this, I'm sorry, I get a little fired up about some of these lawsuits and all these lawsuits about Roundup. If you read the actual technical data that Roundup, or how much it was tested before it was ever used, and then a guy that used it for 2 years with a 2-gallon bump sprayer got cancer from it. We got guys that use 60-foot booms and use Roundup, and they've been using it for 20 years. So I'm sorry, but there are such things as frivolous lawsuits, and they settled that lawsuit just because they wanted it to end. Glyphosate is the active product in Roundup. I don't sell Roundup brand name because you can get it a whole lot cheaper under just a common name. But use glyphosate on that, and in 7 days you can plant.
Perfect. Thank you.
And by the way, if you disagree with me on that, that's fine. But get the technical data of the tests that were actually done for years and years and years before the lawsuit happened, and that's the kicker on that. All right. Yes, ma'am.
As a chemistry nerd, this whole talk is so much fun. Thank you so much for doing
Sure.
this. Kathy's my brother in the Alpha Chi Sigma chemistry fraternity, so she's laughing too. Two things. One, I'm really glad to hear you mention nitrogen and agricultural runoff and any special precautions you would take to prevent extra nitrogen from getting in the water system, because it's a huge problem in the river.
Yep.
And secondly, it is super important to wear adequate protective equipment and non-absorbent gloves when you're using this stuff, because even though it doesn't last long in the environment, it's tough on your liver and other things. Somebody taught me, and I'd like to hear what you think about this, when using the weed killers, to just cut a piece of what you don't like and paint it with the stuff, because it'll kill it back. Do you think that works?
If you cut it, it can't get to the root. You said cut it and then apply it.
And put the killer on the
Well,
raw part.
yeah, you can do that. And in fact, Roundup actually years ago had an applicator wick to do exactly what you're talking about. The problem is, if you got a lot of weed in your lawn, that's going to be really hard. That's going to be really hard. As far as what's the safety, I defer to the label. Whatever the label says, I defer to that. As far as nitrogen runoff, if you apply products the way they're intended, and that's the kicker, the way they're intended. I won't get into it because it takes way too long, but I was in a class up in Maryland, and basically the end of the conversation was, because Maryland has very strict laws, the end of the conversation was, it was not the farmers causing the problem. It was not the lawn care companies causing the problem. It was John Q. Public, because John Q. Public reads the label and says use 1 ounce per gallon of water. And John Q. Public says, oh, if 1 ounce works good, 4 ounces will work really good. Farmers can't do that because they won't make any money anyway. And lawn care companies can't do it because it comes right out of their bottom line. But John Q. Public goes out and buys a pint of Weed Be Gone and thinks 4 ounces per gallon is better than 1 ounce per. I don't know what their rate is. I'm making a point. So the whole point is, use it by the label, including fertilizer for nitrogen. And if you use it by the label, you're not going to have that problem. I'm going to get out of here.
Oh, wait. We present to our speakers a book that we give to daycare centers in the area. And this one is going to be donated to Teresa C. Nether's Little Angels. The name of the book, Hattie and the Fox, by Mim Fox. We want to thank you for coming and speaking to it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day.
Okay, our next program next week, I guess it's going to be a program, bylaws vote. We don't have a official speaker. We will try to fill in if we need to. And that brings us to 50-50. You are.
Good morning. We took in $40 today, which I'm really appreciative of, because that's the easiest split possible. 80 would have been better so that we could put more into our operations fund. But today I have $10. We put 20 in to obviously the club. $10 more went to the pot, which is around $350. $10 today to the winner, which I should have my glasses on. Last 3 numbers. 0. Oh, this is 4 numbers. Sorry. 0, 3, 9, 4. All right. I'm not shuffling. I'm just giving it to you with however George had it. Wait a second. There's cards that are gone the wrong way. Maybe I should shuffle. Just a minute.
To pick that one.
Okay. Minimal shuffling. Pick your card.
3 diamonds.
Oh, 3. Here's your 10.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for playing, everybody.